Gotta get right up in there. Gotta get right up in there. All right, what is up everybody? Welcome to this video. Today is all about how to shoot and export the whole process of a hyperlapse on your iPhone. So this is how you will do it without any editing, no computer, basically just all in one app. Now the two things you are going to need for this is a phone. Obviously, you're gonna need your phone, and you are also gonna need the Moment Pro camera app, which has a new time-lapse feature built in. The second thing you're gonna need is a DJI Osmo 3. This is a super useful tool. It's a gimbal, it's small, it's compact, and it's just gonna make your hyperlapse a ton smoother. All right, so before we get started, it's probably good to identify what a hyperlapse is. And essentially, it is a time lapse that moves. So if you think of a time lapse, a bunch of photos or a video sped up technically, where time is just actually lapsing through, a hyperlapse is that, but just in motion. The person who probably does this the best, the creator that I always know is like just next level hyperlapses, is Andy 2. And we actually just did a whole online lesson with him about how he makes cinematic films on his phone. So you should go check that out. Even Tim Cook was blown away, and that dude's like a CEO of this massive company, Apple, probably heard of it. And yeah, I mean, if he thinks it's epic, then it probably is. So in that lesson, Andy breaks down basically how he does hyperlapses and transitions and his whole crazy process that I can't even begin to understand. So this video is gonna be a much simpler version, kind of just, you know, no special editing, just like what the hyperlapse looks like out of your phone. So yeah, let's go start shooting. Yeah, let's do it. It's all gone. Oh, also, gosh, this is in my phone, yeah. Also, we are running a giveaway right now with DJI, so I'll link that below. You could win the Osmo 3, you could win Andy's gear, and a bunch of other cool stuff. So yeah, check that out, link below. All right, let's go shoot some hyperlapses. All right, so now that we have the chair perfectly aligned in the middle, let's talk through the settings that I prefer for shooting a hyperlapse. All right, so what you're gonna do is you are going to open the app, and you will see in the bottom right here, there's a little icon. You have time-lapse, slow shutter, video, and photo. Obviously, you are gonna wanna be in the time-lapse function, which is, you know, that's where you shoot a hyperlapse and a time-lapse. First things first, we are gonna set our interval. So kind of 1 second to me is kind of the sweet spot. Basically, if you shoot a longer interval, like 4 seconds, your clip is gonna be a lot faster. If you shoot a slower interval, then your clip will actually be a little bit slower. So 1 second is kind of that happy medium, works for a lot of scenarios. Next, I'm gonna go up to effect. I'm gonna toggle through bracketing, through light trails, and I'm gonna land on motion blur. Now, this is why shooting well, there's a few reasons. Basically, the reason shooting a hyperlapse and a time-lapse in our app is way better is because, one, you have the motion blur, which I just turned on, and you can also export in 4K, which is obviously better than 1080, right? Yeah, cool. So right now we have our motion blur set to 0.5. You can crank that up to like a 2, a 4. 0.5 is kind of where I like it. It's not too much, it's not too little, it's just that sweet spot. All right, next I am going to set my EV comp to -0.4. Now, you could change your ISO and your shutter speed, but sometimes if the light changes a lot, or if you're like doing a hyperlapse through a house, it can be kind of hard because you don't know what the light is gonna be. It's gonna change a lot. If you set your EV comp to -4, then it'll adjust your ISO and your shutter speed based on that target exposure. All right, then after that, I'm gonna set my white balance because I don't want that to change. And then boom, I am ready to shoot. So right now I'm gonna shoot a quick hyperlapse through the house, and I'm gonna use these settings and show you what it looks like. All right, so here I am, interval 0.8, motion blur on, EV -4, hit record, boom. And you can see the frame counter in the top. I'm walking at like a half speed pace, and I'm watching the little graph in the middle just to see kind of where I'm focusing on. So right now, I'm gonna line up that graph on my wife. I'm gonna try to keep it on her as best as possible, just so it's nice and smooth. I'm gonna wrap around, and then I'm gonna sit right here on her hands for a second. All right, so now I'm at 114 frames, maybe like 4 seconds. Oh, good job, baby. That was very cute. So now my wife is sewing. So I'll go see her in here. So now I'm back on my daughter, 214 frames. I'm going for like, oh, good job, baby. If I can get close to 300, and then I'll end it here at like 2. Nice. All right. Okay, so right now I am gonna do a hyperlapse down my sidewalk. Now, right now isn't actually the best scenario to do a hyperlapse. One, because there's just not a lot moving. So usually you want like people in the frame. So I shot a hyperlapse at the pier like a week ago before there was a quarantine and stuff, and you see people moving through the frame. If you notice in Andy's work as well, there's just a lot of things in the foreground passing through. Another thing to note is that you're always kind of focusing on the end. If you're doing a big hyperlapse straight, you kind of want to have a point that you're focusing on so that you kind of have that fluid motion. So right now I'm gonna go down the street. I have my setting, got my motion blur on. Yeah, everything's looking solid, so let's hit it. All right, so when it comes to exporting your hyperlapse or time lapse in our app, it's pretty simple. I'm gonna start screen recording because I always forget. But yeah, it's pretty simple. So all you're gonna do is you're gonna click on your hyperlapse. You'll see in the bottom left, there's a thing, export. And you have a couple options here. So you'll see it play back right there. What I usually do is H.264. I'm gonna do 4K, which is really cool that you can export a 4K hyperlapse, time lapse with motion blur straight from our app. That's mental. I'm gonna go quality rate high, obviously, and then frame rates 24 frames per second. You'll see it play back, looking good. And then I will export that time lapse. You'll see the little bar go by, and yeah. It takes about like 6 seconds. So boom, there it is. And then I'm just gonna save the video, and now it is in my camera roll. Oh, what is up, guys? All right, I forgot to do a outro, so I'm gonna do one now. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed that video. Yeah, a pretty cool feature. Honestly, the motion blur is what makes it just so incredible and what really sells the effect of a hyperlapse and a time lapse. Actually, Maddie Hapoya just did a video all on this, which is super good. So you should go check that out as well. Good friend and yeah, talented filmmaker. Dude rocks. Anyways, if you want to win some DJI gear and Andy's gear, follow the link for that. And then we also have Andy's lesson, which I think is still discounted. Just click the link and it'll have more information. And yeah, shoot some hyperlapses, some time lapses in your guys' house. Yeah, have some fun. And we'll see you in the next video. Peace.